Hi there. Hope you're doing well and welcome. We're about to get started and we're getting more people to join the room, but happy to get the conversation going. Indra and Melanie, how are you guys doing? How's your weekend?
Oh, it was wonderful, Bobby.
How's the garden?
That's exactly what I was doing.
I
A
know, I
lot of
always look
it.
forward to the garden updates. When are the tomatoes ripe?
Oh, well, hey, this is exciting. I actually planted radish, mustard greens, basil. My herb garden is flourishing like crazy. I'm using it. And I also planted like a little blueberry tree.
Wow, okay. Man, that's impressive. Okay. And how about you, Melanie? How's your weekend?
My weekend was good. I flew up to Massachusetts really quickly to just a real quick trip to go see my daughter and her college play, and saw her really quickly. And I knew I wasn't gonna see her that much this weekend, so I just went up for an overnight and then flew back
How was the
yesterday.
play?
So it was good. It was really good. It's a small theater. They don't have a theater group. They have a very small group on campus but it was really good. It was a very good production for their limited resources that they have, but it
So
was
you're
very well
you're
done. So
so she's both an actor and an athlete. You must be a proud mama.
yeah, she started. Well, she danced from 3 to 12, and then went into acting at 12, and then we juggled field hockey and then we've juggled field hockey and acting ever since. And so yeah, so she's been in an she was in an off Broadway play. She got cast in that in Seussical off on an off Broadway play, and she's done a lot of local theater. So the fact that she gets to do all of the things that she loves here on campus is has been a good thing.
That's
So
great. Well, thanks so much for that. And so today's topic is about how to network and build relationships. And I called it Stories and Tips to Inspire You. So what I kind of want to do is I want to actually encourage people to come on stage to share their story or share their 30-second pitch. So if you want to share who you are, what you're all about, that's great. We can even give you feedback on it if you want to improve it. But we're all about trying to build more connections. And then, of course, we'll give you stories and tips from our lives and our businesses to help inspire you. So that's what this is all about today. So if you want to learn about networking, relationship building, how to pitch yourself, pitch your brand, share a story, that's what today's all about. So we encourage people to put their hand up and come up on stage. In the meantime, I'm going to start promoting the room a little bit more. And if you like this space, feel free to tweet it out there. You can DM folks. You can click the arrow button. You can join in the conversation with the chat button on the bottom right. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Indra and Melanie to do their introductions, and then we'll come back to me.
Thank you, Bobby. So, hello, everyone. I'm Indra Bartona. I'm a producer in the film and television industry, also a TV host, and also the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe, a global community. Our global community, we usually have 2 spaces a week. one on Wednesday, one on Thursday. And then also there's the company support resources that is in the community. So there's always going to be, we've just released the monthly newsletter for April is out and available. So check that out if you guys are interested. Join the community. And basically, I love to create content as well, and really excited about this networking topic to jump into it with Bobby and Melanie. Over to you, Melanie.
Thanks, Indra. Yeah. So, hey, everyone. My name is Melanie Mitchell Wexler. I am a career coach, job search expert, and a LinkedIn strategist. And I took a 20-year career and turned it into, as a recruiter, and turned it into now coaching professionals throughout the United States primarily and helping them land their dream jobs. And part of what's, of course, storytelling is a huge piece of that. And a lot of people don't sometimes put that two and two together, but it is a huge piece. And being able to tell your story, whether it's through networking approaches or through even interviewing. So this is a huge topic for me that I talk about quite a lot with my clients. Over to you,
Thanks,
Bobby.
Melanie. And my name is Bobby Umar. I am a professional speaker by trade. For the last 17 years, I've traveled around the world and delivered over 1,000 keynotes and workshops across 4 continents. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker as well, and storytelling and building relationships is a huge part of my business, my brand. It's also part of my personality. I've always been an extrovert. I've always loved making connections. I have a lot of people on my contact list who I love, and I'm always very, very social. So this topic to me is also incredibly important for anything you do in your life, whether you're trying to build a strong personal life and personal connection community, whether you're trying to build up your career or try to build your business. Learning how to build relationships, how to network, how to make connections, how to foster deeper connection, build community. These are all incredibly important for you and your brand, but as well as your personal life. And that's why the topic today is what we're talking about. And today's a little bit different. I'm going to invite every single one of you to come up on stage if you can and just introduce yourself. Just say hello. Just say hi. I mean, we've been doing this every week for a long time, actually. We do every Monday at 11 a.m., this Twitter space, and we talk about topics around leadership, thought leadership, personal branding, connection, community. It's called the Power of Connection, although I didn't put the hashtag in the title. We call it the Power of Connection Chat. And so we'd love to have you come. So just put your hand up and you can introduce yourself, pitch yourself. You can say what you want. It's a chance for you to, if you want feedback on your pitch, we can give it to you, or you can just say hi and get to know us. That's totally cool. We'd love to have you come up on stage. In the meantime, we'll talk a bit about how to actually, I'll even maybe start by talking about how to pitch yourself too. So let me start with that. So, wherever you go, you meet someone in the elevator, or you go to a networking event, or you come onto a space like this. How do you present yourself? It's really important to actually, make that positive impression. I often talk about LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn, they now have this thing where you can actually put your a 30-second video on your profile, which says, "Hi, I'm Bobby. This is what I do," and it's a great way to introduce yourself. So, if you're going to pitch yourself, I mean, it's that first 5-10 seconds sets the vibe, sets the tone, sets the energy level, right? Being positive, being someone who cares about people, showing interest in other people, being interested in who they are, and having that clear invitation to join you and let people know what is that value that you bring to the table. And so, when I did my introduction, and Indra and Melanie did, they talked about who they were, what they did, how they help people, and then they start talking about the things that they loved. And I think that makes a big difference when it comes to introducing yourself. So, for me, when I introduce myself, my pitch changes all the time. But right now, I've been doing the whole 1,000 talks and 5-time TEDx speaker, and yeah, a little bit of brand and credibility helps. But I also think there's something in the power of my voice, how I talk. I mean, I could be like, "Hello, my name is Bobby Umar. I am a motivational speaker," and that probably wouldn't go as well, right? As opposed to, "Hi, how are you?" And then of course there's other people who go too much over the top, and they come say, "Hi, I'm Bobby Umar. Come to my room, and you'll get the fabulous ideas." And that's a bit too much, right? So you want to find that balance. I'm of course having fun with this, but the point is you have to do it in the right way and try to be who you are. So that's my first kind of starting tip on how to introduce you and pitch yourself. Let's hear from Melanie, then Indra on their tips on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the first things is really understanding your what your story is, and I know that may sound a little bit weird, but your story is going to kind of the basis of your story or the foundation doesn't necessarily change, but key areas of what you may speak about may change depending on who your audience is. So maybe it's not so much knowing your story, but knowing your audience first. And what is it that's going to be of a particular interest for them to listen to you or to hear you. So I think that's one of the key things is a lot of people sometimes say the same story. They don't edit it. And I'm even approaching this like even from like an interview perspective from or even a networking perspective from a job seeker standpoint. And having been a former recruiter is you need to be able to kind of pivot and you need to be able to change the direction of what is going to be the most important thing for your audience. And so for me, I think that's understanding who your audience is first and foremost and what they're exactly looking or what they're hoping to obtain from that is an important part to start with that. And I'll pass it over to Indra.
Thanks, Melanie. So I think the first thing is to prepare something about yourself and particularly understand like, okay, well, what are the things that are going to be easy for me to talk about? And just have like a really quick, like your elevator pitch. The shorter, the better, I think, because you'll have an opportunity to go into more detail later. But I've tried different lengths of introductions and things, and I found that the shorter that it is, it seems to be like a lot more energy that you can put into it. And then also, people can ask you about it, if they're interested, or you get an opportunity to elaborate and go into more depth. Clarity is really important, and your energy. The way Bobby speaks, I think, is a really great way. But just as initial thoughts, because we're just jumping into this piece on initial thoughts on this, I think be really clear, have clarity, and know your audience, and also kind of keep it short and brief. Back over to you, Bobby.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand how short and brief you want to be. That's why we often say the 30-second pitch, right? So within 30 seconds, there's enough time there to say who you are and approach people with warmth and energy and things like that. So again, I mentioned before, we're inviting everyone to come up on stage and introduce themselves, say hello, just join us and say hi, pitch your business, pitch your brand. That's totally fine. You can do a lot in 30 seconds. You'd be quite surprised. But also, you're welcome to come on stage, ask questions about, how do you network, how do you build relationships, how do you tell stories. Later on, I'll be sharing some of the stuff that I'm doing in regards to helping people with their storytelling. I'm doing a TEDx talk training on Wednesday, and I'm doing next week another one on storytelling and how to put together a 3 to 5 minute personal brand life story of who you are that can set you apart. So that's something I'm going to be doing a little bit later. With that, though, we already have David on stage. So, David, go ahead with your introduction or question, and we'd love to have you speak.
Sure. So thanks, Bobby, and hi, Indra, everybody. Melanie. So I know I've been in the chat. Let me know if you can't hear me. Been on chat before, but I do like the aspect of two things. Number one or three. One is the LinkedIn aspect, which I've actually been trying to tailor. Two is the elevator pitch, and then three is not to talk too fast or too slow. And for I guess a fourth. Item would be dealing with anxiety and depression, mental health, and like Melanie had mentioned, being a former recruiter, I once was at the age of 18, and now I tend to take every little bit of negativity, and I let so in other words, 9 out of 10 things can go right, but that one thing that goes wrong will weigh heavy on me. So obviously nobody's perfect, but I do like the way how you construe it rather, and it's just more positive vibes for me to do better. If somebody says, hey, I suck, then it's one of two things. It's one, I'm going to take their advice and build on it, or two, it's maybe there's envy, jealousness, or just they don't like me, and that's okay. I have to grow used to that. But yeah, my intro is really, really with a lack of confidence, boring because of IT and computers, as both of you know, three of you know. But it's to grow stronger and each and every day, regardless of any hardships. Wake up, pray. I read Indra's quotes post every day. And I do not meditate. I'll admit to that. I did when I was in, during my time in Shanghai, China. But computer is not everything. Hacking is no longer what it used to mean to me. It's now not just a money avenue of generating revenue, but more so like of learning what I did every day. Set up a goal, a task, and try not to be sidetracked. See, so that as an elevator pitch would be too long, but during interviews, I can speak like this. I don't get nervous, and that's just me. But to each their own, I guess.
Yeah, thanks for that, David. Let me ask you a quick question. You said you're into IT and computers, I guess. So, can you tell me something that you love about that?
Sure, I love the complexity of it, meaning all the problems to solve. What I can solve today, I might not be able to solve tomorrow because it's growing and growing, even with AI, etc. I just love the challenge, and I like being told that I can't do something because that puts up the fence. It's kind of like playing chess in the sense that yes, I can do it, and if I can't, then okay, then where do they fail? How do they fail? What time? And I lately I've been taking a ton of notes because in front of a client, I'm not going to say, "Oh, let me pull up my notes and go to this." It's more or less, like a reference. But that's been helping me a lot. And from time to time, if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna say it because I've seen so many people kind of fake it to make it, and I mean, good for them. But in the end, you're just cheating yourself, I guess. But the computer is always there. It's always going to be there. I don't get enough time away, but that's I say that smiling and laughing. That's
That's
all I
good. Let
do.
me ask you another question. Do you remember your first ever computer, and what kind was it?
Yes, my first computer ever. It was a Lenovo. It had Windows 3.1 and DOS. It was a ThinkPad, and that was back in the AOL 3.0 days when I started coding in Visual Basic, which is now .NET. Then I went to a Compact Presario, and then worked my way up. But from Visual Basic to C, object orienting, and I was a computer science major, and then I changed to business with information technology, got my MBA, started my PhD, but I didn't necessarily, I didn't finish it because I got caught up living overseas and abroad. But just having a daily challenge ahead of me is better than, I'm not going to lie, yesterday I slept all day out of depression, thinking that there's nothing I can do to get past this, but I'm the one who's setting those blockades, the firewall, I'll call it, in my mind. Where when I got up today, been up since 2 a.m. Eastern, had coffee and just said, all right, today I'm going to do this. And if I can't do it, then yeah, it's going to suck. But, keep trying. And I'm sorry to be long winded here, but having a community, such as yours and Indra's, etc., really goes a long way. And not preaching to the choir, but it's just really not just. It is. It's a actual factual. I call it way of encouraging others, and really, really nice to hear for me other people's stories too, so I can resonate and potentially collaborate with other people of same mindset. It doesn't have to be technology; it could be anything.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking you this, Dave, is because I think that when it comes to your pitch or introduction or whatever you want to talk about, there's things you can do that get people excited, right? So you could have something like, you know, do you remember your first computer? I remember mine. It was this beautiful, this, and now I love computers because of what they do and how complex they are. It's my passion. It's my gift, and this is how I help people. And I did that on purpose because when you throw in the memory, the nostalgia that everyone can relate to, and then you throw in the why you love computers or IT or tech, then you can start letting people know who you are and what you do and how you help them. So I did that on purpose to kind of see what I could extract from your from your little story and actually something maybe, and that's something that could be part of your 30-second pitch. Not that you should do that one, but I'm just doing it to throw some suggestions.
I actually like that. And Bobby, if I may ask one
Yeah.
quick question, I know you have a lot of here. So I just signed up for I registered for Chat GPT-4, interested in the large learning modules, but not to get too technical. I just did the Twitter Blue. Do you know how long it takes for them to give me the check mark? Just out of curiosity, like a day or so.
Well, I don't know because I'm a legacy check mark, so I've had mine for 8 years.
Oh, you had. Oh,
So
wow, very good.
and that's a whole other discussion that I could get into. In fact, I'm going to talk about it. I don't know how long it takes the subscriber Twitter Blue thing. So, but for the most part, it's definitely a topic of interest. In fact, it's a nice segue to the our next speaker because I invited Maddie and Chris Boozy, who started Spoutable, to talk about Twitter, the rise and fall and chaos and evolution of Twitter, both good and bad. And we're gonna be doing a live stream on April 12th, same day as my storytelling workshop actually. So I'm gonna do the talk with the live stream with them, and then I'm gonna do the storytelling workshop a few hours later. Maddie, you're up. We'd love to hear your introduction. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. David, I liked what you were saying earlier about mental health because that's a great segue into my intro, actually. So, I'm a mental health advocate, born and raised in Ottawa, Canada. I spent 6 years as a radio broadcaster, and then, sort of in the last little bit of time in radio, I started speaking very candidly and openly about my mental health experience and my personal lived experience with anxiety, depression, and it gets a little bit darker, but we won't go into that just in case that's triggering for any folks here. But through that, I built my brand on Twitter, and I'm now working in communications. But in my spare time, I devote almost all of it to mental health advocacy in the city and surrounding areas. I sometimes host Twitter spaces when I can. I'm currently recovering from long COVID, but I love sort of that also helps me talk very candidly and openly about mental health experience because it's all intertwined. The pandemic, the work that I do, the inner workings of all of that, it all comes back to mental health because it all affects mental health in some way or another, not just for myself, but for everyone. And while I'm improving daily, it's just a good reminder that we all have ups and downs in life. And I think that's just, not pandemic related. It's just part of life in general. And I think working with those ups and downs is really important and recognizing them that life is not perfect. But Bobby, you're talking about how to network and how to speak to people. And I think my biggest tip is to be unapologetically you. And I only learned that in the last few years. It's incredibly important because not only does it help create this energy about you that people really gravitate towards. It also helps just in general life. And another tip that I have is while I'm being unapologetically myself, I also treat everybody else the same regardless of who they are and where they come from. So, for example, in my current communications role, I do talk to a lot of people from the federal government when we're networking. And I'm networking with, different MPs, different ministers, different people who are in a much higher position work-wise and corporate-wise than I am currently. But I treat them the same as myself or as someone else. And I think that actually leads to better conversation in the long run. So I'll walk up to a minister or someone who's been in their job for decades and say something that maybe catches them off guard. What did you do before this? That's my favorite one because they normally get asked about their current legislative policies and frankly boring things that they go over every single day. But what really catches someone off guard is a genuine conversation, and I think that that's really important for networking, and that's something that not only leads to good conversation, but leads to them remembering you when you leave the room, which is what networking is all about. So that is what I have to say.
Maddie, that's great. Thank you so much for that. And of course, I'm really looking forward to having you on my live stream on April 12th to talk about Twitter. So that'll be fun. And Christopher, yeah, it's
Yes.
been great. And Christopher Boozy also, he started this another Twitter alternate called Spoutable, and so it's interesting to see some people going to Mastodon, Spoutable, and post and things like that. So it'll be, but of course I've also said while I've built profiles on those other platforms, I'm also here on Twitter to stay, and I've made that really clear because I think there's a lot of opportunity for advocacy and awareness building on this platform more than anything else. So yeah, I think that's thanks. And again, anyone else wants to come on stage and introduce themselves, say hello, you totally can. If you want to ask a question, you can put your hand up, we'll bring you up. But I'm also really big on getting people to pitch who they are and just share who they are. And let me open it to Melanie or Indra if you have any comments for what Maddie or David have been speaking about.
I'll just jump in really quickly for David. One of the things, David, I would encourage you to do, because you said some really key things in there, and I don't think you're giving yourself enough credit, is listen back to the replay of when this replay comes out, listen to that. And because there were a couple of things, and I apologize, I should have written them down because I have sometimes attention like a squirrel. So but there was a couple of ways that you described yourself, that in terms of I think it was you're the problem solver in you, things of that nature. And I really encourage you just to embrace those things. And if you're like me, listening to myself talk is cringe worthy in my own mind. But it's one of those things that you said some really valuable things about you and your story, and I really would encourage you to extract that out of the replay, because that's one of the things that I do with my clients is sometimes they have such a trouble. Like, I ask them, why should somebody hire you? And by the way, that's the toughest question that everyone hates that question. But the reality is you have to be able to show your distinction. You have to be able to show regardless if you're looking for a job, or you may be looking to put yourself out there from, getting a new client, or, networking, or wanting a speaking opportunity. Why should they want to hear you? What about you makes you different from everybody else? And I'm, not David, I'm focusing on what you had said, but there's so many things there that make you unique, outside of the challenges that I know you're facing. And I've been there myself, so I completely understand that. And I think it would just do you really good to hear that, because oftentimes when I get my clients talking about themselves, they find things, they're like, where did that come from? And I'm like, you you said it. And sometimes it's just like we say things so easily without being prompted that we don't realize it. So I would just encourage that.
Excellent advice, Melanie. Yeah, I mean, listening to ourselves and watching ourselves, even if it sometimes makes us cringe. I know that sometimes as a speaker, I watch my videos on myself on stage, and I'm like, oh my God, what are you doing with your arms, dude? But it's good to know. And also my voice, I think I always I know I talk very fast, and so sometimes I'm like, wow, I talk really fast here. I got to slow down. So you learn a lot by getting that feedback. Indra, what are your thoughts?
Bobby, a lot. Thank you to the speakers that have come up. And I want to give a shout out to the partners of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Bunsen and Beaker are here. And looking forward to Jason hearing what you've got to say about this topic, which is really exciting. I have to say one thing, and I was really feeling David, what he was saying, as well as Maddie. Look, I think the thing is that we all have different levels of self doubt and self talk and all sorts of things. Even the most confident people, the only difference is that sometimes the confident people are going to ignore some of that self talk. The people that really sound confident up here and are speaking, they're going to ignore that, and they're going to make conscious efforts to do that. And just, I'm going to ignore that. I heard the thought, and I'm still going to do what I want regardless. So, because I don't know anybody that has an easy life out here, and I've never met anybody that just is basically, floating like swans on the lake across. And so that should be comforting to everybody, okay, that we are all going through different things at different times. And, but the thing is, your goals and even your short-term goal would be, I'm going to come up and speak. in this space and I'm just going to introduce myself. And that could be your short-term focus. Like, you don't have to have these big grandiose things that are really unrealistic when it comes to networking. And why I'm sharing this is because I'm the opposite of Bobby. I'm actually an introvert. I know this sounds weird, doing modeling, being a TV host, red carpet interviews and all the rest of it. But the thing is, I'm actually an introvert. So, I have to actually propel myself out. I have to project my voice, because otherwise I could be very comfortable and feeling zen reading a book by myself, not even being in a space. But I realize that it is people and connections and the importance of connections that really you have to really connect with. And it is so worth it, because the value of those connections is like, 100 times, what even you would think they could possibly be. So there's just some of my thoughts.
Thanks, Indra. Appreciate that. We're talking about how to network and build relationships, and we're trying to share stories and tips to help inspire you. And we invite all of you to come up on stage to introduce yourself, say hello, give a 30-second pitch if you want. You can give feedback or ask a question or share a tip. We're happy to have you all here. And I'm here with Indra and Melanie as my weekly co-host to give you insights into how to build more meaningful relationships, how to network more effectively, whether you're doing it online or in person or in these rooms. David, you had your hand up. Did you have a follow-up question, or where you at?
No, actually, I was just guess I'm speaking ahead of myself, but just that made me smile based on what Melanie and everybody had said, Maddie as well, Bobby yourself too, about I guess and the concentration angle, just one step at a time, and look back and learn and grow. It's not just oh no, I made one mistake and therefore every day I'm going to let that haunt me, albeit for me being GAD, panic disorder, depression, ADHD. Oh my gosh, all of this. It's this is very, very instilling to try to reimagine that mindset. And I hesitated there because it is hard. I'm not gonna lie, but it's one step further in the right direction. And everybody here has great advice, and I can't thank you more than enough. I promise the next session I won't chat as much, but just hearing this makes me sparkle in joy.
That's awesome. I mean, we try to, one of the ways to build strong relationships, and I think Maddie talked about this. I know she had to go, but she said in the chat box. And again, if you're liking this conversation, make sure you post this and retweet it. In the first tweet in the nest above, you'll see that I have the information to this event. If you want to retweet that and get more people in the room from your followers, that would be great. If you found, you'll notice that Indra shares quotes from what people are saying, and then I retweet them. If you want to share insights that are being shared, you might like that, because then if you tag me, tag Indra, tag Melanie, we then retweet them. I'll retweet them 500,000 followers, and next thing you know, you get more followers, we get more people in the room, and it's a happy win-win. So make sure you promote this space. I had a point I was going to make, and now I've lost my train of thought because I'm all over the place. I also did put in the nest the link to the Power of Storytelling to develop your talks, your content, build more influence. That's happening on April 12th in a couple weeks. So you can take a look at that. It's free to attend. There is a deeper workshop afterwards if you want to really get hands-on help, but the first part of it, the first hour of it, is free. So by all means, take a look at that. But we want to get more people in the room. We want to get more people on stage. And while I think of that thought, I wanted to say about what someone had said. I think it was something that actually I was talking about Maddie, and she had said something, and now I'm forgetting what it is. But I will go to Bunsen and Beaker here. Why don't you go ahead and share your thoughts, introduce yourself. We'd love to hear from you.
Hi, Bobby, and hello, Indra, and hello, Melanie. I'll introduce myself real quick in case people think I'm two dogs. My name is Jason Zakowski, and I run the Bunsen and Beaker Science Communication account. If you're on Twitter and you're thinking Twitter is bringing you down, give us a follow. Daily, we teach science through a lens of empathy and cuteness and storytelling. So I saw that your space was about storytelling, and I feel that's what we've really grown into. Education is best done through a lens and a method of really, really engaging storytelling. I think the best teachers we've ever had have been really good storytellers. One thing I just wanted to highlight that both you yourself, Bobby, and Indra, you're so good at, and that's why I try and make your spaces, is that like when somebody like me comes up on stage and they give their random pitch or whatever, you're really good at honoring what they said instead of just like going to the next one. That's a really good skill you both have, is you listen, you actively listen, and then you follow up on something that the speaker has said. And just quickly, we run audio spaces and shows, and when I started, I was terrible at that. I was not a good interviewer. I was not good live. And those skills came with time and listening to people like you that are just better than I was. So I just wanted to say thank you for that.
Anyway, moving on. No, I'm just kidding. So,
See that, but that's the thing. That's what I would
yeah.
do. And it's awful, right? It's
Well,
awful. And I didn't know it was,
yeah.
anyways.
Sometimes
Yeah, thanks.
we're trying to get through all the different information, all the people. So I think that certainly gets in the way. But I think, and actually, you jogged my memory what I wanted to say. So two things. One is from what you said. There's this whole philosophy in improv. So I'm a trained Second City improv, comedy guy, and there's this philosophy of yes and, which is basically you take what someone says and then you add to it. And so when you say something, I want to find ways to acknowledge it, but then also add to it. What else can I add to it? I think that to me is an important piece. You want to be able to yes and what you're saying, and so acknowledging what you're saying or rephrasing it in a certain way. I mean, I spent a lot of my years not just as a speaker but also as a host when I MC events, and so you want to take those one, two, or three points from an event, and that's actually how every single one of you can add value to things. Like you could take this room, for example, take a photo of it, and then post on LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram and just say, "Here's the three things I learned from this event," and that works a long way. So being able to share that and share your story, and storytelling again is a big part of what we're doing, which is kind of why I say stories and tips. I think that I'll always like to share stories about what I went through, both the good and the bad and the ugly. I have bad stories too, which is kind of fun, because it happens. I think and I also put in the link above the one, not just the storytelling one, but also the TEDx one. So I'm doing a TEDx thing that's free this Wednesday. If you want to come take a look at that, you're more than welcome to learn how to land a TEDx talk. And I actually guarantee results. In fact, one of my clients just got a TEDx talk about a month ago, and I'm very happy for her. But I put my money where my mouth is, and I guarantee results. So that's always a fun thing. And again, I've already lost the thread on the thing I was going to say to Maddie. Holy cow! I'm so terrible at this. I'm really distracted. Okay, well, let's see if anybody else wants to come on stage and share their thoughts or ask a question. Maybe we can get into switching from pitches to networking and building more relationships. So maybe we'll go to Indra or Melanie. Let's talk a bit about what are you doing specifically to network and build your community. Indra, go ahead.
Okay, so Bobby, I was just about to ask you also, well, one thing as well, which might also be part of this, is the fact that, okay, so now in the last 3 years, okay, so a lot of networking, is now online and it has stayed online. Before, we had to like walk up to people, and it was more in-person networking. And I actually think that it is quite a bit easier to network online like this. For example, before even you and I connected, Bobby, I would sit in your spaces and listen for quite a long time, listening to you, getting an idea of your personality. And this is a really great thing as well. And I think the same thing happened even with our partners, Bunsen and Beaker. We would be in each other's spaces. And so over time, you get to pick up their energy, you get to pick up their vibe. So I actually think that now is like one of the best times to really, take advantage of networking and networking online. And this I've made so many great connections online, and I feel that you can pick up the energy of the person, their personality a lot, what their values are, and you can align with that. I mean, I'm really, I just posted, and I talk about attract your tribe. Well, literally, it's picking up the energy of the people. And look, there's only so much that, you know, in a, over, like if it's just flat and it's text that you can pick up about people. But when you can actually hear their voices, look, hearing their voices and connecting on Twitter Spaces is actually almost as good as in person, because sometimes it's over a long period of time, and that networking event might just be for that moment. It might be only once, or maybe it's twice, but this is like, every week. So there's a lot of advantage of growing your network and your community online. Thank you.
And I think to that point, one of the things that's really important to understand is that because a lot of networking is now happening online, uh, you have the opportunity to prepare what you want to say much more easily than those who are fearful of in-person networking events, right? So you can actually prep your 30-second pitch or your introduction or whatever it is you want to say, and use that as your talking to people online, which is great. So you can craft your message. And this is where introverts can thrive, because they can craft the right message the way they want, as opposed to being thrown into the mix with, me and five other flaming extroverts who are loud and jovial and boisterous, and you're just sitting there like, oh, okay, when do I get to say something? And so I think that to me is a really good opportunity. In fact, I meet a lot of people on these platforms who are introverts, but they've had practice, and they plan themselves. I think that works a long way to being someone who will be seen and be heard. And I just remembered the thing I wanted to say from Maddie, which was, when it comes to networking, when it comes to building relationships, one of the primary goals, and I did a whole webinar on this, which is you want to be memorable. And she gave some tips on how to be memorable. And so what I like to do with people is, she asked a question that made her memorable because it was a question that people normally wouldn't ask. And so finding a way to be memorable, whether you're at an in-person networking event or whether you're doing it online or even coming on stage here, what are you doing to be memorable so that people notice you and remember you and maybe want to connect with you further? And that's actually something that's going to set you apart as well. Melanie, I want to make sure you have a chance to say something before I go to the other people on stage.
Yeah, I mean, thank God for online networking for us introverts, seriously. So I will say, as Indra mentioned, I am also an introvert, was a painfully shy child, like just really painfully shy. Always never wanted to speak up, just never wanted the attention to be put on myself or anything of that nature, and then I go into a career of recruiting where I have to talk to strangers, build business. Um, and so I don't know, introverts seem to find themselves in that space a lot of times. So where they have to kind of step up to the plate, so to speak. I would say for me personally, I mean, I just kind of go back at the beginning of the pandemic in particular, where I found Clubhouse, where ultimately I found you, Bobby, with Thought Leadership Branding Club. That also opened up the doors to meeting other people. And so just kind of putting yourself out there, even if you are that introvert and that, you're like, oh my gosh, I don't really want to have to talk to people. But it really helps you when you're surrounded by a community of people that are supportive, that are also like-minded, that have similar interests for you, but also really kind of push you to be the best version of yourself. I think that's also something that's highly important, is being able to find that community, because sometimes in particular, like entrepreneurs, business owners, my friends don't necessarily understand the challenges that I go through with my business, or maybe why do I work so hard, or or who am I looking to connect with, things like that. But others that are in that similar situation, you can have those common connections. So finding community, I think, is really important in helping you expand your network and getting you connected with the right people.
Yeah, that's a good point, Melanie. In fact, I run, I know that Indra runs a Positive Vibe Tribe. I have my own community called the Thoughtless Brain Club, and in that membership community, we help people get better at relationship building, get better at content creation, get better at mindset and more confidence, storytelling, speaking, because we know those things will elevate your brand and elevate your expertise out there. So that's kind of what we do. I want to welcome Meg on stage. Welcome to the stage. Please go ahead with your introduction and question or comment.
Yes, I'll hopefully be quick with this. Just woke up to this cool group, and I was like, Bobby, yeah, no, this it's actually a very interesting conversation. It kind of reminds me of how I've been. So what I've kind of been saying about Twitter Spaces recently is I discovered Twitter Spaces, and I actually discovered rooms where the people do not agree. We have very, very different, especially political opinions, absolute polar opposites. And I kind of went to the rooms. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I kind of want I'm interested as to what their thinking is. Just how I know why I think things. Why does someone else think this? So I went in and started listening, and they are some of the closest friends I have on Twitter now. People who we have seen nothing eye to eye politically. They joke about how I'm the little progressive, but they won't hold it against me. But it's a genuine group of really, really great people that I would have never, ever run into had I been like, oh, nope, not my people, nope, nope, too conservative, no, no. In fact, and I've actually been able to learn kind of what shapes their thinking, which is, and also as opposed to mine, and sort of just find the common ground. A lot of the common ground is we are human, there's respect, there's and everyone is just very, very close together. Like everyone is very cohesive. And so it's the common ground really is kind of like we are all people and we respect the humanity in each other. And we all don't, at the base of it is we are all humans. That is what unites us. So yeah, it's been actually, Twitter's been fantastic that way. So thank you.
Thanks for sharing that, Megan. I would say that's an important piece. People, my wife and other people always often ask me, how do you have such a diverse range of friends from across all different, political spectrums and all that type of thing? Part of it's because I'm able to, find that common ground to listen to them. There's this whole idea of, and one of my pinned tweets I had for years was this idea of listening to understand versus listening to refute. I think too many of us spend too much time trying to, build divide versus bridge understanding, and I think that to me is a big challenge. Although Twitter is part of that challenge too, because I think a lot of people are tweeting in angry ways. But when you get into an audio room and you talk to each other and you hear the authentic audible voice, I think that makes a big difference than when it's just tweets, mad tweets rushing back and forth hurriedly in some sort of fashion. You don't know the tone, you don't know the context, and a lot of people struggle with that. So I think that's really great insight about that. And every single person has a story. Every single person has things, values and experiences that they could share, and that's why I'm a big believer in investing in people's stories. Like, tell me who you are, tell me where you're all about. Um, a little story. I was at a networking event just a couple of days ago. It was on Thursday night. It was the Toronto LinkedIn local meetup, and my wife was there, and there was another progressive activist there, and then this older white gentleman showed up, and we were all talking in a little circle of 5 or 6 people, and then he started going on this tangent that clearly was disturbing everybody else in the group. It was a very awkward moment. He was saying something that I think, and I could tell that my wife was kind of really getting upset with some of the stuff he was saying. And so I had to step in, but I did in a very nice way. I just said, you should know that what you're saying is often, and that person you're referring to is, often uh, it really triggers a lot of people the wrong triggers people in a very negative way because of some of the behaviors he's engaged in. And I felt comfortable telling him that, and luckily, because I know this guy and I've known him for a couple of years, so but I was using that to diffuse the situation. But I did listen to him in the sense where I said, based on what you said, here's a couple of positive key points, but let me offer a strong constructive criticism about the person you're referring to, and I did that, and that certainly helped diffuse a very awkward situation. So these things can happen, but I was using I built a strong relationship with him. I also listened to what he said, and then took one of the key points and made sure that I acknowledged what he was saying and what he was trying to do versus the misstep that he made with his talk. So that type of stuff happens. Sorry, Meg, did you have a second thing you want to add?
No, just again, your conversation. I was just thinking, well, this is so. What has to do with sort of what I was just talking about? Exactly, listening. There's the groups like I was talking about. I've been in groups where we do not agree politically, value wise, all that kind of stuff. But there's genuine connections. There's genuine connections with people in the room, and I've, even though I'm joked about as, this is our little resident progressive, we don't hold that against her, kind of thing, and just being absolutely accepted and listened to. So I listen to them, they listen to me, and actually I'm really, really impressed at how they're actually people that I look forward to listening to. Like in the morning, I'm like, whose face is this? Or who's this? So I often am looking and I find myself in those rooms, and it's like nothing else matters but just what we're kind of our friendships, and we connect at this level kind of on how are you, and just kind of the values of like, family, and then, being American or something, or being just like some values. But it's, yeah, exactly what you're saying is really, really exact. And I absolutely love it. Like I love Twitter Spaces that much. I'm on it way too much.
Well, we're glad you joined us here today. Indra, Melanie, any thoughts on what Meg said?
Yes, absolutely. Meg, I loved what you said. And because it was basically the ingredient when you said there are, some actual values that we have that are the same, which is, the family values. So there was something there that connected you to the group of people. And, a lot of those people are also their mindset is in a great place because they have a sense of humor, which you mentioned several times. They kind of tease you about it being you and having your different perspectives. And the other thing is there is some common ground there, regardless of the other topics that are discussed. There's the common ground, and that's a really great point because we don't have to agree on every single thing. I mean, it's really hard. I mean, there are some groups of people, and if I look back, okay, in college, we are all kind of, aligned. We are all thinking exactly the same thing. But what happens is we all go off and we live our lives and we have different experiences. So then we're going to be a little bit different. We're all going to be a little bit different. But I think it's about having the mindset that you want to connect with people, you want to understand other people, and it's really about accepting others. If the energy is right, if there's things that are resonating with you that they're saying, then that intention is there to connect with them. So that is the thing that was coming through, when I was listening to what you were sharing, Meg, which is really important. And I think that's the thing. We can connect with others, we can network with others, and sometimes by just listening and actively listening, it helps us to understand others. And that's something that Bobby always emphasizes is listening to other people, not listening to respond, but listening to understand, to connect. And I actually put that in a quote, so you guys can all have a look at that later and save it and retweet it and resonate on that. Back over to you, Bobby.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for that, Indra. Melanie, did you want to add anything too?
I mean, I would just reiterate what Indra said there at the very end is active listening is such a key aspect of networking. Oftentimes, in particular, we go into situations where we're meeting people and, it may be a networking situation. And sometimes we're very me focused and it's about what am I going to get out of this situation, or why am I here? Why am I, this is why you should connect with me. And so I think sometimes we often do too much talking, and that we need to stop. We need to take a step back. We really need to listen to what that person is saying. And then that's how you actually build a true, in my opinion, how you build a true relationship with a true connection is that active listening piece. And I think sometimes in this world we do far more talking than we do listening. And I think listening would potentially start to bridge some of those problems. And I think what Meg was saying is a perfect example that she's in this group And she goes in and she's listening to what others that may not have the same thoughts and opinions as she does, and that's okay. But we can live in and coexist, and not attack one another. So I applaud you for that.
And thanks for that, Melanie. Meg, your hand's up again. You want to add another thing? Go ahead.
Oh, dear. Yeah, last little bit. Sorry for but this topic is actually really on point. And there's two things you mentioned: networking and connecting. I wouldn't say I'm networking. That's not what I would say. But connecting, yes, absolutely. Melanie put it perfectly. I think connecting, and actually just this morning I woke up and there was kind of a space going from before, and it was politically very little agreement. But then humanity, like we care about each other, and I kind of woke up and I was talking about something, and there's, something bothered me, and there was kind of like this actual checking in, like, are you okay? Like clarify, So it, yeah, it's just like I'm just, it's surprising, but actually it shouldn't be surprising. Like I guess it sort of has been made out to be that, like, you have your own kind of, people, but in fact everyone are your people. You may have your kind of like subset little groups, but everyone can be, well, maybe not everyone, but yeah, just the amount of people that just I meet, that it's legitimately like we have more conversations like, how are you? We're checking up on each other is a real legit friendly conversation. And yes, exactly what you're talking about. It's connecting. I love the connecting of broad views across the world and across the spectrum and across political views that I may not run into otherwise. So yeah, thank you. Absolutely.
Let me just clarify something too. I mean, some people don't like the word networking. Some people don't like the word, I guess. I mean, to me, it's all about cultivating meaningful relationships and connection with people. That's what it is, right? So when I say networking, I don't mean, you know, hard selling or passing your business card around or whatever it might be. I'm talking about building meaningful relationships, cultivating, planting seeds, building connection, talking to people, sharing yourself. So that's what we're talking about here. And so, don't get caught up by the semantics. Just focus on building those meaningful relationships, and that'll go well for you. There's a question that actually came up in the feed, because if you like what you're hearing, you can share this. We'd love to DM folks. You can also click on the arrow button and tweet about this the way Indra is, and that way, like Indra and David already shared and have already shared stuff, and I've actually retweeted my 500,000 followers. So that's a good way to get attention and build people and bring people in the room. So feel free to do that. But a question came up from someone in the audience from Rights for Her. It says, I have a problem with networking and I failed to identify my problem. Why? Well, I mean, there can be many reasons for that, but I think the place you start is by talking to people you know and trust and asking for feedback, right? So I think, you need to understand what exactly it is about networking or relationship building or going to events or speaking about events that's holding you back. And we all have things that hold us back. We have our own, personal experiences of maybe a bad situation or a mistake that happened in our life. Maybe we have, we're shy or we're nervous or we have introversion or we are not sure where to start. We don't have the right, opening questions to ask people. But what I can tell you is that doing the deep dive work and understanding how your mindset works and getting feedback from people you know and trust, I think that's the way to start to help you identify what the problem is. And you're not going to be able to identify unless you're willing to actually listen and talk to people and find out what they see from you. So I think that's kind of what I would start with. I also want to go to, and we're already an hour in, so normally I end within an hour and a bit. But David, you put your hand up. Did you have something else you wanted to add before I go to Angela?
No, you actually addressed it, Bobby, with regards to the intro extrovert session, and the second
Yes.
thing too is like you mentioned too. So on LinkedIn, just requested both yourself and Indra, but also to and also to the point of Melanie to take what the session has taught me, and then to revise my intro video. So yeah, it goes a long way for a plethora of people, and I hope those that re-listen to this after the recording is all said and done take away a lot of items. And this is just a a branch off. There's so many more topics from every topic, which to me is in the coding is the endless loop, which is pretty cool. So just wanted to get that out there, and thank you.
Yeah, thanks, David. And the topic. I mean, the title of this event is called the Power of Connection Chat. So we call it was hashtag Power of Connection. That's the hashtag used on LinkedIn. It's the one I use here. But the Power of Connection entails many different areas, and so that's kind of why I've been using that. I actually originally we had a tweet chat years ago every week on Monday around the same time, and then I moved to Twitter Spaces about a year and a half ago. So we've been doing this every week, and it's a lot of fun. And connection can cover anything from personal relationships, business relationships, to community building, as well as networking. And even introversion, extroversion is the connection with the self to understand who you are and how you interact with people. So I think as a future topic, or even if you want to ask a question in these rooms, I'm always happy to answer that. Let's go to Angela. Welcome, Angela. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here for most of the talk, as some people pop in and out, but you've been here for the whole time. So thank you for that. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and then see if you want to share a question or comment.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because the last time I did one, nobody could hear me. I'm nervous, so people just sorry. I'm not the best speaker, I guess you can
It's
say.
okay.
But,
Just take your time. It's totally fine. So just share what you want to share.
yeah, I've been wanting to do a space. I just been trying to figure out how I'm gonna do it and all that, because I don't know, because I'm like this. But it's mostly about like it's like I guess positivity in one way, because I want to do like suicide prevention type thing, but I want people to come on and tell their stories that about what kept them from killing themselves, and like don't go into specifics about how or anything, but just like just stories about like what kept you from doing it and all that stuff. That is like what I think that's kind of my purpose in life, is try to help people, any way I can.
Yeah, Angela, I appreciate that a lot. And a vulnerable space like that can be a really powerful experience. And I've learned through the power of social audio, whether it's on Clubhouse or on Twitter Spaces or even on LinkedIn Audio, that the authentic audible voice and creating a space where people come on stage and just share their stories around a really deep and personal and sensitive topic is actually incredibly powerful and can be quite helpful to so many people. The advice I would give to you in terms of starting one is to do it with collaborators. So one of the things that we did in the Thought Leadership Brand Club, when we first started out the Thought Leadership Brand Club, actually on Clubhouse, we were trying to help people with doing rooms. And the thing we always told people is good to have 2 or 3 people as the kind of the co-hosts of the room. So I have Indra and Melanie here who are my co-hosts. And similar to when I do a Clubhouse room, I have 2 or 3 people that are there, because then you kind of share the load and you can prepare different things and you work on differently. One person's talking while the other person's pinging people or DMing them, or when I'm talking, Indra's doing like quote tweets. Like that's all part of the collaboration. If someone puts their hand up, maybe Melanie can bring them up while I'm busy talking. So these are things that we can do to help each other out. So I think that if you want to start a room, put it out there. Put it out in the world. Put it on LinkedIn. Put it on Instagram. Put it on Twitter. I'm looking to do a room about this thing. Who's interested? Put in the right hashtags. And next thing you know, you might actually get a couple of people that might want to do it. The second thing you do is look for other rooms that might be talking about similar topics, and then you can actually DM people and you can start saying, I want to be involved in doing something like this. And the last tip I'll give you is that when you are going to speak, it's always good to write down exactly what you want to say so that you feel more prepared to just make your statement so that people are it's clear and to the point. But I think you did a good job, and I appreciate your courage for coming up on stage.
Thanks. Okay, I will take that advice. That's sound advice.
Thanks, Angela. Andrea, Melanie, any other thoughts for Angela?
Yes, absolutely. Angela, I think the thing is, when you do those spaces, just to be aware that sometimes, you want to also have like some clear guidelines, and set up the rules for the space. Because, okay, so I'll give you an example. In the Positivity Vibe Tribe spaces, at the beginning, there were some people that would come in and they would be sharing their stories, and then they were crying and they were very, very upset. And what happened was it would trigger other people. And so I would just get overwhelmed with these DMs. And, people were saying, oh, hey, we didn't think it was going to be this kind of discussion. And, I'm just really torn up and I've had to walk away from my work and all these things. So maybe, if you somehow maybe post about what type of environment you want. And if you want that type of environment, that's great. I got lots of complaints. Well, I don't know if they were complaints, but sort of, just because, people got so upset, and then other people were affected. And so then they got upset. And, even though you want to create awareness, I would say, like, be clear if it's going to be that type of room. So then other people understand, okay, well, I can just come in, because basically it was like, I almost think it was like, it felt like a therapy session for some people. They thought this is what it was. And so I also had to tell everybody, this is not medical advice here that anybody is providing. There is no professional in the space that is counseling anybody else, because that's the only thing with those spaces. I would just make clear parameters, because if you trigger somebody else that was fine, that happened to just wander into the space, and this was a situation on several occasions. So we don't have that kind of discussion anymore in the Positivity Vibe Tribe, because my community has dictated, what they want, basically. But your community could be different. So, just set really clear parameters, and make sure that if that is the type of space, that you're going to have some sort of professional there to support others, because otherwise, it can be a space that, that I experienced. That's just some of my thoughts. And if you can keep your speaker on mute when other people are talking, that would be great. Whoever has it off. Thank you.
Melanie?
I always just say practice, practice, practice. Take opportunities like rooms like this to be able to come up, and this goes for everybody, truthfully, in the audiences. Take the opportunity to come up on stage. I know it can be intimidating. I've been on Clubhouse in particular. I've been in rooms with some fairly big names and personalities, and more so the personalities is sometimes you feel like, oh, I can't get up there and like ask a silly question, or like, my question isn't that important, or, you dismiss yourself. And so I think that it's opportunities like rooms like this, spaces like this, taking that opportunity to come up on stage, whether it's asking a question and then also partaking in the conversation and adding value. That's the other key too, is this is a great way to get exposure to others that might have similar interests or like what you're saying and want to know more. And so it's a great way to build that connection just from, coming up on a stage and speaking, and practicing what you want to talk about and answering questions and things of that nature. It's a great teacher. and I say that from my own experience. So
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. And we have a couple more people on stage, which is great. Meg, your hand's up. Did you have you want to add a comment to what was said?
Yeah, just if you don't mind, I just wanted to respond a little bit to Angela and say I certainly say, how do I say this? I certainly am familiar with that topic from both views of and I have been in some groups on Twitter Spaces. I certainly would be willing to actually be very interested in sort of talking with you about how you want to run it. I do have several friends and contacts who are psychiatrists, psychologists. I myself am a sociologist. I wouldn't be a counselor, but I do have sort of professional knowns. But yeah, no, that is one topic that is, you can really do it well, and it can be incredibly deep. You can also really screw it up, but you can also do it really incredibly well, and when it's done really well, it's incredible. It touches people. It's so I just want to say, I will like follow you and DM you. But thank you for coming up and talking about that, because that's not an easy conversation to have. I hardly ever want to be like, yes, this is what I'm thinking. Yeah, just not a fun conversation to be like, yeah, this is what it is. But it is necessary. It's a necessary evil. It's just, yeah. So thank you, Angela.
Yes, thanks so much for that. And I just want to make a comment for people. Part of building relationships and networking and building community is also having clear guidelines to protect yourself. So, there were some people who want to come on stage, and if you don't have a profile that has your face or show who you are, or I can't see your tweets, then as part of protecting and creating a safe space for everybody, I'm not going to let you on the stage. So there's a few people who who may want to come up, but you need to have a clear profile. Otherwise, and I'm here also trying to support and create a safe space for Indra, Melanie, and everybody else on stage. So that's another thing that comes into play as well. So keep that in mind. We've had a really great conversation here the last hour and 15 minutes. I want to make sure that you get a chance to take a look at the tweets above. If you want to be part of my TEDx workshop and tell your story or learn how to, land a TEDx talk, that's on Wednesday. It's free. And then the next week there's a talk on how to build your story and or enhance your stories, and that's a free workshop as well, with a bit of an added mini workshop afterwards if you want more hands-on support. But that's also in the nest above. You can take a look at that. And with that, I want to get to some final closing thoughts with folks. David, you put your hand up. Did you want to say something quickly?
I'm sorry, yeah, I'll make this the last. I always say that. With regards to Angela, yes, did a very, very good job. And I just posted in the comment section, no, in my personal opinion, if you didn't ask this, or, if you weren't nervous or shy, maybe then you would have been doubting yourself. And the whole community here is embracing this and just further collaborating. What you mentioned are some powerful key topics where I'm even embarrassed myself to mention what I've done on that level. But if it helps others, I'm more than willing to explain. And also kudos to everybody here that's supporting people with mental health issues. And big shout out to everybody here. Really made my day.
Thanks for that. Thanks, David. Appreciate you here and the contributions you've given. Let's close with some final thoughts from our speakers. Indra, please go ahead with your final thoughts for today.
Sure. Thanks so much, Bobby. I just want to encourage everybody, whatever topic that you have, that you feel comfortable with, to always bring that into your connection with others, when you're meeting them. And it's the same definition that I have of networking, which is Bobby's, which is connecting with other people, building and growing relationships. We really, look, the solopreneur is one thing, and really, even being a solopreneur, even if you consider yourself to be the lone wolf, really connecting with others enhances us and grows our experience, grows our, even just having more fun, connecting with others, learning that we can have when we network and connect with other people. Even if you look at it, like connecting today with everybody in this space, everyone who has spoken has brought amazing things. Hey, I want to give a shout out to Arnaldo, who's been here pretty much since the beginning, and it's come back as well, and also to our partners of the Positivity Vibe Tribe community, Bunsen and Beaker account. Thank you so much for supporting. And really, look, never be afraid to connect with other people, even if you just introduce yourself and say, hi, this is my name, I'm Indra, and hey, I've been looking forward to meeting you. Or just break into, have a couple of things that are really easy. And the best way that I really like to do it, being an introvert, and for anybody that's uncomfortable, is do a little bit of research before the event or before even the space on the person, and just say, hey, I've been researching, and hey, I learned about this piece about you, that you're really good at, that you're a keynote speaker, and I'd love to ask you your opinion on this, or how you could help, or how I could learn this particular thing. So do a little bit of research and bring that into the conversation. And that's kind of like the basic that I do on, okay, well, at least I'm going to do some research on this person before I'm at this event, whether it's online or whether it's in person. And the main thing is to be your authentic self, because you are all really unique, and you're all bringing different strengths to and different strengths and different experiences to any one moment in life, even to this space. You're all bringing different unique experiences, so this is really powerful. And don't ever feel that you're less than anybody. Even if somebody spouts off a big resume in front of you, it doesn't even matter, because you are bringing yourself and you are unique. So I hope everybody has an amazing rest of your day. Thank you so much for all the people that also didn't speak, but they put notes in the chat. And we really appreciate that, because you're part of the space. And all the listeners, if you weren't here in the space listening, we wouldn't have a space each week. So Bobby, Melanie, and I are really grateful for all of you. And we look forward to seeing you next week as well. The Positivity Vibe Tribe will be having a space on Wednesday and Thursday. So check that out. And in the meantime, sending you all love, light, and blessings.
Thanks, Indra. And I just want to, before we go to Melanie, Alex joins us on stage. Alex, I will give you a few moments to share a question, a thought, or an introduction. Go ahead.
Oh, that's very interesting. Thank you, Bobby. And I just want to appreciate you guys. I want to appreciate you, Bobby, Indra, and Melanie, for the great job. This is wonderful. I'm someone who is very shy. I don't know how to talk in the public, actually. Yeah, but in a space like this, you create in a community where you can, where you can be free and then talk to people, without being judged, or without thinking about, someone is gonna perceive you in a negative way. It's quite appreciative. I love the genuineness. I love the vibe in this community, and then I'm looking forward to joining you guys in your next space. And then if there's any community, you can introduce someone like me to, because being a public speaker is quite a wonderful skill that I think anyone should learn. So someone like me want to be that, because until of recent, I get to understand that being an introvert and then being shy, not mingling with people is affecting me a lot. So I would love to, to learn a lot, and then to join you guys again. Thank you for your wonderful work. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex, for the kind words. And obviously, one of the best ways to network in relationships is start with gratitude, right? And I think that's a great way to be memorable. It's a great way to build a connection. It's a great way to show people that you're a person that has heart in your leadership skills. Before I go to Melanie, I put another little link in the nest above. It's actually the link to the Thought Leaders Brand Club. If you want to learn more about the Thought Leaders Brand Club, we put together, Melanie actually and I worked together on this, and we put together a one-pager that lays out the benefits of being part of our community, with weekly calls and coaching and support and resources and trainings and all the things we add value to it. So if you're interested in learning more about it, check on that tweet up there and retweet it, and if you're interested, you can actually check the link and learn more about who our community is. Melanie, closing thoughts for today.
Yeah, so much great things have been said. I would just really encourage everybody to, really just remember, everyone has a voice, everyone has a unique point of view that you offer, and so never feel like you don't have a place to share that, and always find opportunities to share your voice. I really encourage you to do that, because that can be a game changer. Sometimes you don't even know when people are, others are listening, what that may mean to them, what that impact does for them. So never shy away from that opportunity, even for the introverts out there like myself, that sometimes it is hard. So, and then feel free to connect with me. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn, and then you can also catch me. I do 2 rooms on Clubhouse on Tuesdays and Thursdays. This Thursday we are taking off because of Passover, but usually LinkedIn 101, Becoming a LinkedIn Rockstar, is on Thursdays at 6 p.m. But I also, for those that might be interested, I co-moderate a room called Career Coaches on Call, where we offer career and job search, job seeking advice for those that are out there in the market or thinking about it. And that's on Tuesdays at 6 p.m. in the Thought Leadership Branding Club, also on Clubhouse. So I'd hope maybe you'll join us, and definitely feel free to connect with me as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Melanie. And, I actually do, aside from those things I put in the links above, I do also other rooms too. So I do a weekly room on LinkedIn Audio at 4 p.m. Eastern. I do another one on Thursdays at 2 p.m. Eastern on LinkedIn Audio. And of course, there's Twitter Spaces every Monday at 11 a.m. I want to thank Indra and Melanie for being the amazing co-hosts, that they're always so fantastic. I want to thank all the speakers, Angela, Alex, Meg, Maddie, David, all the people that joined us. Thanks for sharing your insights today. And you can also follow me across all the different platforms. If you want, make sure you follow Indra and Melanie. And if you found this useful, the replay is going to be available. So just share the replay, share 1, 2, or 3 tips or things you learned from the replay, and share with your followers. Tag me and the others, and that way I'll also retweet it to my followers too, and get you some attention for your tweets and what you're working on. Remember, networking, cultivating meaningful relationships, building meaningful relationships starts with the heart. And if you know what the heart wants, and you have a clear idea of who you are and what you want to do and how you want to help people, you can put yourself out there and start creating really genuine, authentic connections. And if you need help, you can ask for help, because there's people out there that are willing to help you, including myself and our TLB club community. So thanks so much for being a part of the Power Connection chat. I wish you guys all the best on this wonderful week. And happy Passover and Easter coming up to all those people who are out celebrating. Next week is Easter Monday, and I'm going to probably be traveling because I go to Montreal for the weekend visit some friends. So we may not be back next week, but hopefully you'll come on the following week as we do this Power Connection chat every week. Thanks so much, everybody. So long. Talk to you soon.